The college football experience, Oregon State Beavers 2024 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, Underdog is giving away $15 million in Best Ball Mania 5. Sign up with the promo code TCE SGPN to claim your first time deposit offer. Up to $250 in bonus cash. Yes, they do have college football and college basketball. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCE SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm has the best AI picks and projections and their college football product. Well, it's about to drop. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm.
This is Mike Leach, head football coach at Mississippi State, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Welcome to the college football experience. Oregon State Beavers. Let's go Beavs. 2024 season preview episode. YouTube.com/the college experience. Get on over there because we are breaking down all 134 teams in the land with a solo podcast for each and every team in the land. An hour dedicated to everybody. All right. And look, with all of the most of the Big 12 is out there, the entire Big 10, SEC, Mountain West, all out there. Go listen to them. But this episode right here is dedicated to the Oregon State Beavers. If you're wondering just who the hell you're listening to, that's fair. My name is Colby Swiggan, Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
And you're nothing but a chameleon, lemon-headed, coward, terrorist pussy. And I'm after you, buddy. You're going to pay for it. Good night.
That's what they're saying about the Ducks. You know what I mean?
Coward terrorist pussies.
Yes. And USC and all these bastards. Larry Scott. Look. Pac-2 Media Days were going on in Vegas when I was at Mountain West Media Days. Had a free cocktail hour. They said if anyone needed it, it was the Pac-2.
Yeah.
They got a shit ton of money.
They did. Good for them.
And look, I heard Coach speak. The new head coach of the Beavers.
Hello.
Says 11 or 12 games.
Trent
11
Bray.
and 1 and 12 or 12 and 0 is the goal.
Hello.
Let's talk about that. I am joined by my co-host. Give it up for former JMU Duke defensive back, the burrito eating, sideline kiss stealing, wheeling and dealing, Patty C in the place to be.
Hi-oh.
I love Oregon State football, right? Reeser Stadium, legendary venue. Love the home environment. They do college football right in Corvallis, all right?
Just upgraded that stadium too. It's the closest fan section in all of what was the
They could try to push them out, but I don't give a shit. They are what is great about college football, the Oregon State Beavers. And look, I've been a fan for a long time. Love this program, and I think conference realignment makes no sense. I think most Beavs fans are probably like my Wazoo friends that are frustrated, saying, "Wait, we are a good football school. Why is this happening to us?" They have won 8 games or more, Patty C, 10 times in the past since 2000. And that, so you would say 23 years, but no, 22 years, because COVID, you only played like a 4-game season. So, Yeah, they should feel.
Sneeze at.
They should feel, cheated and gutted. All right, but look, just like the Washington State episode, which you can go listen to, I think there's room for optimism. And this 12-team playoff, they might get to the playoff more often than say some of those teams. Now, maybe not the Ducks, we'll see, but maybe more than Washington, USC, and UCLA, and some of those other Big 12 schools that left the pack.
If they do go Group of 5, it's looking like Big 12. Even if they go Big 12, there's a decent chance that they come out of that, and then that's pretty much a guaranteed playoff spot.
Yeah. I mean, they should be in the Big 12 to me. Like, they should be in the Pac-12, but since we know that's detonated,
but even if they go Mountain West, I would think most years has the best shot of getting up a team in the playoffs. And then if they're the best team in the Mountain West, which I think they kind of would be of recent, or right in that mix, obviously, then I would expect maybe we see Oregon State in the playoff mix way more often than they would have been had they, stayed in the Pac-12 or even gone into the Big 10, obviously.
Well, I thought they were in a great spot because I thought they had an alum in Jonathan Smith that would battle through these years. But no, he left for Michigan State. And look, I'm not going to shit on him because he took a job that offered him way more money, because every American would probably do that for the most part. But it was tough because I thought he would be like, hey, I'm a fucking Beaver through and through. I want a Fiesta Bowl here. We're gonna, because I think if he stays, they dominate. They would probably go undefeated. But I think once again, there's still something you could say here. They hired Trent Bray, who was the DC, youtube.com/the college experience. I got these fire graphics. He was the DC. First off, he was a linebacker here when they were really, really good in the early 2000s under Dennis Erickson, right? Mm-hmm. He coached under Dennis Erickson. He coached under Dennis Green. He coached under Mike Riley. He coached under Jonathan Smith. The resume is there. He's been with Oregon State since 2018. They've had as much as you want to bring up the numbers of, and I'm not saying you personally, but I'm saying people that Jonathan Smith was in charge of the offense. The defense is better than the offense the past couple of years. So retaining Trent Bray as your DC, but now becomes your head coach.
He had been the DC for both of the last 2 years, which they went 10-3 and 8-5 in respectively. So 2 of their better years. I would say they're like two of their best defenses in the past 20 years. So that is coaching continuity. And then you look at like the OC, who's the OC that he hired. It's Ryan Gunderson. Oh, former Beaver quarterback. So like, I like the fact, even though it's not Jonathan Smith, that this is an in-house operation. We feel disrespected. And if you heard him speak at the media days, I feel like that's what he was saying. It was like, we feel disrespected. We have something to prove about this. We're going to show you that, we are, worthy of all of the, worthy of being in this quote unquote exclusive club. And, I think that is cool that they kept it in house in a way with Beaver alums. Yeah. So, the new DC is Keith Hayward. He was at UNLV a couple years ago. He was with the Raiders last year in Vegas as well. Also a Beaver alum.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You kept it. I kind of dig that of saying, all right, we're gonna get some of our alums that were here that won big time fucking games, blow out Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl, and we're gonna figure this out.
Yeah, that expect to win. We'll instill that culture the same way Jonathan Smith did. Yeah, I mean, from a coaching standpoint, it sounds like maybe it's less of a drop off than you would expect with Jonathan Smith, taking his services elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, we've never seen Trent Bray be a head coach, but that resume. I mean, look at the 4 coaches he worked under. All of them were fucking really good coaches.
Yeah.
So,
There is that. Look, folks, we're going to talk more about this in a second here, but I want to tell you that the Oregon State Beavers 2024 season preview is brought to you by Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Yes, we are a part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, and make sure to check out this week's featured podcast, the MLB Gambling Podcast, giving you all the picks you need to crush the rest of the MLB season as we inch closer and closer to the playoffs. Plus us, yes, the college football experience is knee deep in 134 team previews. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast and the SGPN app, which is free to download in the App Store and Google Play Store. So grab that thing today and let it ride. All right, back talking Beav football. Patty C, we do this for every single team. This is not driven by Oregon State. The most embarrassing loss. I'll say this, man, going through this exercise with Oregon State, they play away games at the group of 5 at a much higher rate than I'm like 75 teams into this fucking thing right now.
Yeah.
They play a lot of group of 5 away games, and that leads to losses.
Yeah. We've covered that for years as to, you know, obviously the scheduling disparity there between some teams and other teams, and how specifically going on the road is a challenge, and going on the group of 5 is not doing yourselves any favors.
And when you look at the it's not like they chose New Mexico. They chose Colorado State, Nevada, Hawaii are probably the weaker ones, but the other ones, man, they've played at Boise like 4 times, going 1-3 in those, at Fresno, at Cincinnati, at Utah when they were in the Mountain West. And they've lost those games for the most part. But do they really have an embarrassing loss here? Maybe Sac State, like the Gary Anderson era. That's something I also think I want to note. Looking at these seasons year by year, for the most part, to me, like a 5-7 Oregon State team with a 9-game conference schedule, and they normally have a Power 5 outside of the non-con, right? Yeah. So 10 Power 5s, and then they normally play a group of 5 on the road,
high level group of 5s. Yeah.
So when I see 5-7 seasons, I say that's the same as like a 6-6 in the ACC. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Kentucky,
Kentucky in the SEC.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like if you're looking at this, really since the late 90s, meaning like the Dennis Erickson era when it started in or 98, they really haven't been shitty with the exception of the Gary Anderson era. Like Jonathan Smith walked into that. It had to clean up the mess. That was it. Gary Anderson really
3 years.
Yeah. That was besides that, man, you look at this, you're like, man, okay, Riley in 2011 had a bad year, but like the other years they were always like competitive or good,
Yeah. Yeah. For the most part, dating back to really even before 2000, 95 or 99 with Eric when Erickson took over. Yeah, they've been a pretty good squad. Better than I would have thought. The bad years stand out, but for the most part, this is a pretty solid program.
Yeah, better than what I think most people would think. And I would also say, like, when you think about that scheduling, I think they schedule harder than almost every team in the Pac-12 because they play. Look at this right here. Even your FCSs are against really good FCSs. You know what I mean? Like traditionally, not every year, but I'm just saying, like, I think this is going through this exercise, going through 23 years of data there. I was like, they're kind of like Purdue. Purdue schedules incredibly hard within or outside of the Big Ten, like almost to their detriment.
Yeah.
And I feel like Oregon State might have a little bit
certainly
of the same situation going on. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, though, that has prepared them well for a transition like this, because obviously it's going to be a step down in competition that you're facing, but it's probably across the board. They couldn't schedule as hard as they have been if they wanted to now. Just by nature of playing like in a different conference. So they're probably going to win some more games than we're used to seeing them win.
Well, a perfect example too, and this is why I like retaining the DC. Originally, I wanted them to get Bronco Mendenhall, who played defensive back for them, but I think Trent Bray might make sense. Now Mendenhall's a winner, so you have more of a security blanket. But you've seen him be a head coach. We've never seen Trent Bray. He's a winner. But last season they lose at Washington State by 3, at Arizona by 3, to Washington, who played in the national championship, by 2. Yes, they got blown out at Oregon in the Civil War, but at the bowl game you have to throw out because the coach had left and like 40 players had left. So that was just a stupid bowl game, right?
That was not a good
they were
indication of how
they were pretty damn close to being 11-1, man.
You look we're talking a 2-point loss to the national champion runner-up, a 3-point loss to a 10-win team, a 3-point loss to a pretty good Wazoo team on the road. Like getting crushed by Oregon. Okay, it happened. That was their bad loss. But other than that, you're right. Very close to 11-1.
Another thing I want to highlight here is look what they did to San Jose State. I thought was the best team in the Mountain West last year. They tied and through some crazy tiebreaker, they couldn't play for the championship. There's a lot of bullshit going on there. They went to San Jose and won 42-17. Now, maybe it was Boise, maybe it was San Jose State. I can tell you this: it wasn't UNLV. San Jose State proved that on the field.
It's not like they had cheap wins here either. It's not like they had a bunch of close games and it's like, if the 50-50 games go their way, then it's 11-1. It's like, no, the only close games on their slate were losses. They had one win by 7 points against Colorado. Other than that, everything else was at least double-digit wins or double-digit win margin. So they smacked most of the teams they played last year and had a couple close losses.
And smacked both Mountain West teams, which obviously they'll be playing this season. A lot of those. Want to talk more on that in a second, but I want to tell you that the Oregon State The Oregon State Beavers 2024 season previews brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, Underdog Fantasy just launched their Underdog Streaks. Hit your first 2 pick'em entries, and then you go streaking. What did Will Ferrell say? Who's gone streaking in old school? If you can get an 11-0 run, then you'll win 1,000 times the amount of money you entered. Plus, Best Ball Mania is live with 15 million in prizes. You can now use specials and boost on all flexed entries. So what are you doing? Sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer of up to $250 in bonus cash. Yes, they do have college football. Yes, they do have college basketball. I'm playing CFL action right now. MLB, UFC, underdogfantasy.com, promo code TCE. SGPN. We're also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of the MLB, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch, with killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. And look, they also have college football. If you're planning to go to Reeser, if you're planning to go to Hillsborough Stadium, catch the Portland State Vikings or the evil enterprise there as the Oregon Ducks, I recommend using the Game Time app because just do it. You'll be impressed by everything. I think take the guesswork out of buying the tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the redeeming code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, terms apply. Create that account. Redeeming code CFBX for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, back talking Beavs. You never gave me an answer on the worst loss. Is it the Sac State game? Is it Eastern Washington?
Getting housed by Boise. It's ugly, 42-14. It's understandable though. Those were some. What year was that? I
was like mid 2000s. Peterson. Those Peterson. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's not even so bad then. Yeah, I would say then maybe Sac State.
Yeah. Sac State got him 29-28 under Gary Anderson, I believe. Anyway, let's jump into this. The Beavs last season, 34th in the nation scoring per game, 31.8 points per game, 5th best in the Pac-12. They were 45th in yards, 409.2 yards per game, 7th best in the Pac-12, 51st in passing. That was also 7th best in the Pac-12 and 57th in rushing, 5th best in the Pac-12. Now offensively, they returned 2 starters, and I actually I fucked this up a little bit. It's 3 starters. Tight end Jermaine Terry II, who came over from Cal the year prior, I believe. He is back, and also Grant Stark at the right tackle spot. Joshua Gray at the left guard spot is back as well, and he was 2nd team All Pac-12 a year ago. Patty C.
Okay.
This is why I'm going to build the case. Now let's talk about what they lost first, but I'm going to build a little bit of a case of, I think they might be not as bad as I thought coming in before doing this exercise, but the portal did absolutely annihilate them. DJ Uyunglele heads out to Florida State. They're starting quarterback. If you watched them last season, we were very excited about the freshman Aiden Childs, who seems to be a stud. He played in that San Jose State game and in a couple other games, and he looked really, really good as a true freshman. He heads out to Michigan State. They also lost Travis Throckmorton at the quarterback spot as well. Running back Damian Martinez, maybe the best running back in the nation, heads out to the Miami Hurricanes. They also lost Isaiah Knoll at the running back spot. Wide receiver Silas Bolden, who was a stud, had
huge losses.
Yeah. He goes to the Texas Longhorns. Wide receiver Trevor Pope too, and then maybe the best tight end in the Pac-12. I think you could have this in that debate. Jack Velling heads out to Michigan State. Also Jake Overman to Pitt. Carter Newman also to the Bryant Bulldogs. And then on the offensive line, Tanner Miller was a stud for them. He is now at Michigan State. Also lost Dylan Lopez to Nevada. Patty C.
Holy shit. They lost the portal. I don't care.
There's no way you're going to win it. There's no way you're going to win it. But I will build the case that I think they did the best they could considering the situation.
Yeah.
And they also lost Atticus Sappington, their kicker, to Oregon. That filthy bastard. Going to the Ducks. I got something for that. All right. Going to the rival. Just a true asshole move. They also lost Jason White and Josh McCormick, but they did bring in Patty C. Gevani McCoy, which I am very excited to see. If you are not familiar, subscribe to the FCS College Football Experience. Gevani McCoy won the Jerry Rice Award winner given to the top FCS player there, and the last 2 to win that, Patty C, were Cameron Ward. Might have heard of him. Miami just paid him a shit ton of money, and Shedeur Sanders. So he's led Oregon State, he's led Idaho to back-to-back playoffs. They got him for 2 years too. If they want to, they also brought in Jabari Johnson from Missouri, who is scheduled as their second stringer, but they still have Ben Gulbranson, who started like 20 games for them. I feel like over the past 3 years. So like the quarterback room, I'm kind of thinking, I mean, Uyunglele was good. I thought he'd be a little bit better, to tell you the truth.
Yeah,
and
only 57% completion percentage.
That's what I'm saying. Like I don't know that they drop off at the quarterback spot. Now Childs, you wanted Childs in his future, right?
Yeah. He had 68% completions and 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. The future did look bright for Childs.
Yeah. No, Childs I think is going to be an NFL quarterback, and maybe DJU too. But I'm like, in a way, I'm like, man, McCoy might put up better stats than Uyunglele did a season ago.
Well, when you're looking back at like Chance Nolan, you would think DJU, his legs are part of the equation that make him such a valuable package. Chance Nolan actually had more rushing yards 2 years ago when he had a full season of starting. So it's not like DJU even added that element, more so than what they had before him. So I think he played well. The eyeball test, he was a good quarterback. It's tough to lose him, but I mean, it wouldn't stun me if McCoy or Gulbranson, outperformed him statistically.
Yeah. And then at the running back spot, they go out. Now, obviously you lose Martinez. I can't patch this one up. Like the other one, like I actually believe McCoy could put up better numbers than Uyunglele, and even if they played in the Pac-12. But losing Martinez and bringing in Griffin from Ole Miss and Anthony Hankerson from Colorado. Now, I mean, Hankerson started for the past 2 years, certain games at Colorado.
Yeah.
Griffin, Ole Miss transfer.
Griffin 2 years ago had a nice year, 488 yards, but last year only got 7 carries. So I don't know if he was dinged up or what, but definitely wasn't getting the ball.
But that's a clear drop off. I can't patch this one up here.
Adrian Martinez. You know what's funny though is like again when you're looking
Damian
back at
Martinez,
previous,
not Adrian,
Damian rather.
Yeah.
BJ Baylor, who's on the Falcons, rushed for over 1,300 yards just 2 years ago, and then since then it's been Martinez rushing for. Fenwick was good,
yeah.
But Martinez 2 years ago 982 and last year 1185. So about 2,000 yards, about 1,000 yards per year, or slightly over 1,000 yards per year for both the last 2 years for Martinez. But watching the guy play, I would say there's another eye test where it's like, well, Martinez could blow into like a 1,600 yard back. That wouldn't surprise me at all if you keep giving him the rock, because he's like 6 yards a carry.
He's a stud, dude. He's a fucking stud. Like. The wide receiver spot, Silas Bolden is gone. Yeah. I mean, they lost a good chunk there. I mean, with Velling, the tight end.
Yeah, Velling. Yeah. And then, but Bolden, I think, doesn't probably get enough credit for being the explosive edge player that he is. Where'd he end up going again?
Texas.
Yeah. Texas ain't going to take someone that doesn't have that element. So that's a tough loss.
Now, the wide receiver spot, you bring in Darrius Clemons from Michigan, who's scheduled to start, Patty C. Won a national championship. Okay. And you have Trent Walker, who had 5 receptions a season ago. And then you have Jordan Anderson, their highest recruited freshman coming in, projected to start. Jordan Anderson there. So the receiving room definitely has some question marks, but
yeah.
Here's what I'll say. I think the offensive line's in decent shape. So Grant Stark is I think a 6-year senior, is it? For the coming over from Nevada, who's returning. Joshua Gray was all Pac-12 last season, second team, right? You have those two. Van Wells was at Colorado and started I think 22 games there. I actually thought he was one of their best offensive linemen last year.
Well,
right?
That's again not a super high bar to set, as Colorado had probably the worst line in the Power 5.
True,
last year.
But I feel like even the year before, when they weren't the worst line,
he was playing. I feel
like Wells was solid to me, right?
Yeah.
And then Lichtenhan started at Colorado. Now he needs to prove it to me. He did start 11 games last year at Colorado, but like I said, like I knew Wells was kind of the anchor of the offensive line. Lichtenhan started. I need to see more, but still, to have those starts are valuable. I mean, they also have Flavio Gonzalez, who started 6 games last season for Oregon State. So I think the O-line might be better than what I thought coming into before doing this exercise.
You might be right. I mean, to your point, the Van Wells and Gerard Lichtenhan, acquisitions, if you will, those guys played in the Pac-12, and the Pac-12 has elite pass rushers, whether it be Utah, Oregon, USC, Washington. They got guys coming hard and getting drafted high. And so just by nature of seeing those guys on a weekly basis, these guys are going to be well prepared for what's coming at them in the Mountain West here, essentially.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I came into this exercise thinking running back room and O-line could be a mess. I actually think the running back room is going to be all right. And I think the O-line is actually way better than what I thought. Now the receiving room
is
red
garbage.
Red flags. Yeah.
Top leading receiver on the team had 8 catches last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that includes the transfers, if I'm not mistaken, because the guy that came from Michigan didn't really do anything. Who was that? Darrius Clemons. Only had
three receptions. 3 receptions. Yeah. So yeah, we got to figure out stuff there. But in the freshman, their top freshman recruit out of all of their recruits is Jordan Anderson, who's projected to start. we'll see how that goes. But those are obviously, that's the biggest question mark. But I actually think that's a good thing. If you're telling me the receivers are your biggest weakness on offense, I think if you had to choose a position, it would either be running backs or receivers that you would want to be the quarterback's position. And I bet you McCoy will run a lot. So like you'll get some added rushing yards if Griffin and Hankerson aren't Martinez, which they aren't. But McCoy will run the ball some.
I want to take a look. I know I'm looking at his passing stats. Decent completion percentage for him, like 65-ish in that range. But I didn't see his running stats yet. But he's small, 6 foot 181. Will he be able to?
Which is why he wasn't. Well, same with Cam Ward. That's what I'm saying. That's a common trait for the FCS quarterbacks. But if you're that good, if you're that poised, I think that's where your edge is. There is that okay. You see this so many times, whether it's you could take it all the way back to fucking Doug Flutie. The NFL wouldn't give him a shot, and then you finally do, and he's a Pro Bowler.
Kyler Murray is struggling to find his footing in the NFL, but he certainly dominated at the college level. So at the FBS and Power 5 level at the time.
Yeah. So I'm not going to panic that much about the quarterback spot. I think that they'll actually be, in a way, improved. You can make the argument. You can make the argument that Cam Ward, when Washington State got Cam Ward, and unless you watch FCS football or subscribe to the FCS college football experience, because we knew he was a stud. We're like, okay, Shedeur Sanders. People said, how will he do against the D1?
After one season, he is the Heisman favorite. Is it? Or
they're projected to be the top pick of the draft. If you ask some people, all right. Look, folks, I want to tell you that the college football experience is brought to you by Rhythm. If you're not checking out the AI picks and props from Rhythm, then you are missing out. They just dominated the British Open, and their college football product is about to drop. You can even customize your own betting models using Rhythm's tools. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. We're also brought to you by Circa Survivor and Circa Millions. Just got back from Circa Las Vegas. I was out there for 4 Mountain West Media Days, Pac-2 Media Days. Circa Sports is back with Circa Survivor and Circa Millions, giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes. Imagine the regret you'll feel if you win your office pool for like $100, but you didn't enter the Circa Survivor, which you could become a millionaire. Don't have a trip booked for Las Vegas yet before football season? May I recommend the Ultimate Contest Weekend? It's a great time to go out and hang. If you do, you can kick it with Stacking the Money Green and Real Money Kramer, the Sports Gambling Podcast, and enjoy some of the open bar events at the greatest sports book in the world, August 22nd to August 24th. Also, to book a little room there at Circa, use the promo code SGP15 to save you 15% off your hotel room for sign-up weekend. So do that. Sign up in person at Circa Sports between now and September 7th and use a proxy to play from anywhere. We even have a deal with footballcontestproxy.com to save you $50 with the promo code SGP. Do that. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride. All right. Now we jump over to talk about Beavs defense. This is what I mean, though. Last season, and Patty C, like, the more that I dove into this, and maybe it's me because I like Oregon State, but I'm like, they played some very good quarterbacks last season. You look at the quarterbacks they played, I think 3 of them were top 10 picks. And then Cam Ward was the highest priced quarterback this free agency, essentially this transfer portal. Yeah. And Shedeur Sanders is projected to be the top pick of the draft. Oh, and there was another guy named Noah Fafita that they played that was very, very good. Yeah. That the reason why I bring this up is they were a better defensive team than an offensive team last year.
Well, you said, I'm guessing with the 3 quarterbacks you're talking about were obviously, where are you including Howell in that, or not Howell, Hartman?
Oh no, I wasn't. I was just going off of the 3 in my head that went in the top 10 in the draft. Was
in the top 10? That was
Penix. Caleb Williams, Penix, and Nix, right?
Yeah,
and then they played Shedeur. They did play Hartman, right? But Hartman didn't play that game, did he? I don't even remember. That game, I didn't even watch that game because it was stupid.
Yeah, I just watched the highlights of that.
But also they played Cam Ward. They also played Dante Moore slash it was Dante Moore. I think that started that game for UCLA. But yeah, and then Noah Fafita. So like you've played great fucking quarterbacks a year ago.
Yeah.
And the defense put up great stats considering. It's like NC Nick said. We were doing the preview the other day on Utah. Go check out the Utah Utes preview. He's like, to put up like these numbers are all skewed in a way because you went up like their pass defense is probably pretty damn good. It charted at 82nd in the nation, but when every team in the Pac-12 can throw for like 500, that's probably a really good pass defense. And the rush defense is probably not as good as those numbers because teams don't run the ball as much.
That's right. If anything, you got to look at like Penn State when they, are going against the crap Big Ten offenses. They look like one of the top defenses in the nation. And lo and behold, they play a dynamic offense similar to probably what a lot of the Pac-12 teams were running in Ole Miss in the bowl game and get annihilated. Their defense looks terrible. I mean, so Oregon State, like you said, facing high-end offenses all year and pretty respectable numbers even despite that.
Yeah. Shout out to the chat. Josh Curran in their games with Boise were all home and home. Yeah, that's my point, though. My point is with the group of 5, most Power 5 teams don't do a home and home with a group of 5.
Yeah.
That's my point is like, that's insane. Normally people don't do that. Like
Florida and UCF, that the whole hubbub about that was them getting one game at
Lincoln
UCF.
Riley talked about this yesterday at Big Ten Media Days where he says, he goes, Alabama's never scheduled or, they've been ahead of the curve on scheduling. He said, they don't schedule for their fans. They schedule to win championships. And, I think he's accurate.
I don't know if that makes them ahead of the curve. I think that makes them in an advantageous position that they take advantage of, ahead of the curve, meaning I think that was pertaining to USC trying to get out of the LSU game, I think, and canceling the Ole Miss series next year. Gotcha. And he's right. But that's but unfortunately, I think he's late to it because the 12-team playoff is probably going to be based on, your non-con and stuff. Whereas before the 14 playoff really, I thought on your record,
the lighter you scheduled, the more beneficial it was for you. Yeah. They were a good defense though, 45th in the nation scoring per game, 38th in yards. And like I said, I actually think 38th in yards, they were a top 25 defense. It's just, you go against that many good offenses. Okay. You know what I mean? If you put them in the Big Ten, that would have been a top 10 defense because there's only 2 offenses that can move the ball in the Big Ten.
You might be right. That's a big jump, call them a top 10 defense, but maybe a lot better than they were.
All I'm saying is, how many top 10 offenses did they play or top 25? They played a good amount of good offenses.
Yeah.
The defense, the bad news is you only returned 2 starters. Nickelback Noble Thomas, very noble of him to stay there. And cornerback Jaden Robinson. Punter Josh Green's back though. Patty C, I was telling you this pre-episode. I think they have 6 transfers coming in that are starters projected to start. They also have some guys that, to quote Dave Clawson, were in the incubator, like Isaiah Chisholm, the freshman who got 1 start a year ago. Also a couple other guys.
Dude, it is a sad state of affairs on this defense in terms of returning production. One of their top 13 tacklers comes back.
Yeah. Their best defensive lineman is now at Florida State, Siona Lolea. USC just comes in and plucks Easton Arnold, their best linebacker, and also their best safety, Achille Arnold. Tennessee takes their top corner and Jermaine McCoy. But I think the fact that he knows this personnel, you're not bringing in a brand new head coach. You're bringing in guys that were a part of the culture, a part of what you want to do defensively.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These backups, some of these backups, culture,
all that.
Now the transfers, they got to learn the scheme and the culture. But I'm saying the backups that are potentially, like I said, whether it's Chisholm, whether it's some of the other guys they brought in, I think Melvin Jordan is one that was a freshman last year. Those guys are are going to be the ones. Skylar Thomas, who was out for the year with an ACL last year, but the year before started a few games for them. Those guys are going to be the ones that carry on your culture. You know what I mean? And mixed in with the 2 returning starters from a year ago. So they did go out in the portal and look, Taiji Hill from LSU penciled to be a starter. Patty C. He was a freshman at LSU last year. Comes in, he's a sophomore here. Tavita Pomea is a transfer from Oregon, penciled in to be in the mix. I don't believe he is listed to be a starter this very
Oregon,
moment.
Pacific Islander defensive linemen generally do pretty well, so that's a nice pickup.
Yeah, pretty filthy though. The transfer from Oregon to Oregon State. I think we might. DJ Wesselak is penciled to start from Missouri, and Josh Griffiths penciled in to start from the Texans at Tarleton State. Nick Norris from Northern Colorado comes in. I think he's added some added depth. Kobe Singleton from the Flamin' Libs of Liberty penciled in to start. Patty C. Then Sal Vadrale. Yeah. From Cal comes in, and Mason White from TCU. I think White might be able to push for the starting spot as well. What do you make of this defense, buddy?
No, wait, did we hit the losses already on defense?
Yeah.
Go back to that real quick. I mean, it doesn't seem like they lost. Easton Arnold was a producer, I believe. Or no, that was Achille Arnold. No, Easton
Arnold was a stud for them last year.
Okay. Achille Arnold, they also lost USC. Yeah, they lost a couple guys. I would say overall they probably lost the portal on the defensive side of the ball too. But that's the name of the game when you lose your head coach these days, unless you somehow bring a hotshot coach who brings all of his talent over. But especially given the other circumstances at play here, namely them losing their power conference status in the long term. They were hit harder than pretty much any other team in the country. Would you say?
Definitely. But I think, at first I was underwhelmed with the Bray hire. I was like, they should have got Mendenhall, right?
Yeah.
But then the more that I paid attention to this, like I was doing the deep dive, really under Jonathan Smith, who's been a great head coach been a great coach wherever he's been. But the defense was better than the offense the past 2 years. When Bray was the DC, the defense was certainly way better than the offense. Yeah. And
I'll say maybe there's something to the youth movement. Bray 41, Gunderson, the offensive coordinator, 39, Hayward, the defensive coordinator, 44. So they're young and hungry, whereas maybe Mendenhall is getting a little long in the tooth, might not bring that same energy and desire to win, improve yourself.
No, that's what I'm saying. And I think I might have undervalued that. And the fact you can have continuity on this defensive side of the ball. Like I said, you lost your starters, but these guys, the recruits that you had, the backups that you had, are still familiar with this coach. And to me, that and the scheme and what you want. And I think that might pay off for them, especially in year one. The win total is sitting at 7.5 wins, Patty C. There is no odds for the Pac-2 champion, but to make the 12-team playoffs plus 2,500, to win the national championship plus 50,000. But look, Trent Bray said, he goes, I expect to be, 12-0 or 11-1 this year. Yeah, if you look at the way they dominated the 2 Mountain West teams on the schedule last year, one of those arguably was the champ.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's first reaction, 7.5 wins though, without looking at the schedule. What would be your first reaction?
First reaction would be, I need to look at the schedule, but
yeah.
I would say, off the cuff, that sounds about right for a team losing that much, but it depends on if they're playing some of the harder, group of 5 teams. And then obviously Oregon is going to be on the schedule still. And then I think Wazoo, depending where on they were, I would say that's probably at least 2 losses. So it seems about right. 7.5.
Did they phone it in? Did Vegas phone it in? Because Washington State's win total was 7.5 too. It's saying like we've never seen Power Fives go down to playing like all these. So let's just set it at 7.5 and we'll see if we're right or wrong.
Yeah, it's probably there's probably something to that. I mean, although I think they're kind of accurate on. I mean, we thought Wazoo though has a chance to have a much better season than that.
Well, they return their entire staff, and they're like there's a lot more returning starters. There's like 13, 14 returning starters.
Yeah, I guess by not losing their coach, they were able to weather that storm a lot better than Oregon State was.
The schedule, week 1, Cody Hawkins. Shout out to Cody Hawkins and Dan Hawkins is now on the staff. Coming into Corvallis, the Idaho State Bengals running the run and shoot. Oregon State will be 1-0.
Yes.
Then they make a trip to the Snapper to take on Sean Lewis and San Diego State, running the veer and shoot there. This is a dangerous game to me because it's right before the Civil War. And by the way, fuck you, Big Ten. The Civil War should be the final game of the season each and every year. All right, week 3, ridiculous.
Yeah, ridiculous. Who do you think? What roster do you think would be more talented here? Oregon State's new roster here, or San Diego State's?
Dude, I kind of have it as like a 50-50 game. Like, yeah. I honestly don't know. I would say at least Oregon State is doing the same shit. So I guess I'd give a slight lean to Oregon State.
Here's the thing. Okay, so Bray's been there for since 2018, and I guess this is Gunderson's first year, obviously coming from UCLA.
But I bet you there's going to be some influence on the Jonathan Smith stuff that they were doing.
Yeah, offensively.
Yeah,
probably. I mean, but then Hayward is brand new there, coming off the defensive quality control coach for the Raiders last year. So it's not like the coordinators are bringing continuity to the equation. It's just Bray. But I do think that still helps. And the fact that Sean Lewis is brand new too, I think there's probably going to be a little bit of a faster ascent of the learning curve for Oregon State going into this game, especially in week 2.
Is Sean Lewis good enough for 17 points? Because last year was a 17-point win.
Oregon State. Maybe given all the factors and the fact that it's at San Diego State, but I don't think so. I want to favor Oregon State just by like 2.5 or 3.
Yeah, I think I would too. So let's say 2-0. Yeah. Then you have the Civil War. We love the Civil War, but once again, week 3, it's fucking pathetic.
Probably a loss.
They'll lose this game. 2-1.
This is an interesting one right here.
Now this is a huge one, man. The Purdue Boilermakers come to town. Oh man.
They weren't that good last year.
Fresno got Purdue last year. This is a winnable game, dude. In Corvallis, if this was in West Lafayette, I would say Purdue would win this game.
Yeah.
In Corvallis,
it becomes a true coin flip.
Yeah.
Between this and San Diego State, I'll hand them a second loss. I'll have them at 2-2.
I'm going to give them a win, 3-1.
Okay.
They get a bye, and then they're home to Colorado State. Now, this one, I actually think Colorado State's a better team than Purdue this year.
Yeah, but they get them at home. That's a nice start. 4 home games in your first 5. Then it gets tough in the second half of the season. But
I'll say that there's just too many. Like Colorado State gets them. I got them 3-2.
Let me see coming off the bye there is probably helpful, especially preparing for a system.
I don't know, actually. They could beat Colorado State too.
Colorado State also coming off a bye, but I feel like it helps Oregon State. The bye helps Oregon State more here. Maybe I could be wrong there. I'm going to lean Oregon State in this one. I think they're, a better program, and there's got to be. I don't know how well they were recruiting, but I would imagine it was significantly better than Colorado State. So even if they lost their high-end starters, the guys coming up underneath are probably still a little more talented than what Colorado State has.
You sold me. 4-1. 4-1. Another field goal game. Another field goal game for me, though.
Yeah.
They head to Nevada. I think they can win. Nevada was horrible. Nevada. Yeah. 5-1. Home to UNLV. This is a little tricky.
Yeah, I think they win that though.
6-1. I got them losing at Cal. There's no way. So to me, there's a lot of 50-50 games on the schedule, but they're all in Corvallis, which makes me want like Purdue, Colorado State, UNLV in Corvallis. On a neutral site, I feel like those are kind of 50-50 games, but if it's in Corvallis with that edge, the turnover chainsaw, I'll favor each one with Oregon State by a slight amount. But when they go to Berkeley to take on Cal, I have Cal winning that game.
Well, they went to Berkeley. No, they went to Berkeley last year. So I don't know why that happened. They have to go there twice. They did win by 12 in Berkeley last year, but again, a far better team last year probably.
I also think Cal's done great work in the portal.
Yeah, I'm going to give them a loss. So I got them at 5-3 at this point.
I got them at 6-2. They get a bye week. They're home to San Jose State. Give me 7-2.
That's a tough one, but yeah, I'll give it to Oregon State.
They whooped their ass last year at San Jose by like what, 40, 35, something like that.
It's not that tough a one.
They are going to lose
25-point win.
They're going to lose at Air Force though, because Air Force, even though I think they take a step back, by the time they play Air Force in November, that offense will be fine-tuned. Calhoun will have that offense going. Give me Air Force upset, third loss.
Yeah, I'm going to give them a fourth loss here. And guess what? The end of the schedule isn't much easier.
Washington State, though, I feel like when we did the Washington State preview, and go listen to that, we said like that's a sneaky game in Corvallis. So I got them knocking off State, but like that's a 3-point game. It was last year. And then I have them losing at Boise. So that would be what I would have them with like 8-4. You have them at what, 7-5, 6-6,
7-5 or 6-6, you know,
yeah,
somewhere in that. So I'm on the under here.
You know what? I think you're probably right. I'll just say they drop a game I don't see. I get, because to me there's 50-50 games. San Diego State, Purdue, Colorado State, UNLV, Washington State. Those are all 50. Now all of those are at home though, with the exception of San Diego State. I don't know. Yeah. I'll stay with the over. Give me 8-4.
If they are anywhere near the team that they've been over the past few years against this schedule, that is a shoo-in, you know, but losing Jonathan Smith and then Trent Bray, you know, I don't like, why do we think there would be any continuity on the offensive side of the ball if Trent Bray was the defensive coach and, you know, they're bringing in a guy that wasn't with them as the offensive coordinator before that.
Fair.
You know?
But I just feel like Trent Bray coached under Dennis Erickson, played under Dennis Erickson, same with Jonathan Smith.
Yeah, I think
be a lot of influence there, you know?
Yeah, I think as a head coach, I think they're probably in a decent spot with him, you know, just based on that coaching tree that you mentioned. You know, those are some great coaches. They could go. It wouldn't surprise me if they were 8-4 or even like 9-3. If they come out and really gel well and get ahead of the curve.
What's best case scenario here?
They're going to lose at Oregon or hosting Oregon. That's a loss. They're probably going to lose at Boise.
10-2 best case scenario.
You said at Cal was their third
I like
hardest.
Cal's team this year.
I think that's likely a loss. I would say 9-3 is probably closer to their realistic ceiling.
Fair.
I mean, you could say best case scenario. The only two games that they really are likely to take an L in are Oregon and Boise, and all the other ones are probably in that 50-50 game category. But they're not going to win all those 50-50 games. And
unlike where I said best case scenario with Washington State, I'm a lot more optimistic that Washington State, with their whole coaching staff intact and so much more returning production. Like, I know you laughed at me when I said Washington State could go 11-1. I really believe they could. Now, I'm not saying they're going to.
Yeah.
Like, I really think
it would be incredible.
I think they could, though, where there's no Oregon on Washington State's schedule.
Yeah.
Washington State gets Washington, and Washington lost everybody. Right. To me, this is a trickier schedule. Washington State doesn't have to play at another Power 5 in Cal. You know what I mean? Which Oregon State does.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. I think the ceiling's like 9-3. The floor to me is 6-6.
Yeah.
But I do think they're probably going to be 8-4 if I had to bet. 7. I think the number's right here. Where the Washington State one I feel like is off. I think the number's right. I think 7-5 or 8-4 is.
This is one of the first ones where, for you then 7-5 or 8-4, you got to pick one. And
I'll say 8-4 just because all the 50-50 games, like I said, to me the 50-50 games are this: San Diego State, Purdue, Colorado State, UNLV, and Washington State.
Yeah, four of those
five are at this amazing stadium called Reser Stadium. So with a great environment. So I'll lean 8-4, but I certainly wouldn't bet this. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I'm going to lean under, but I'm not that confident in that actually. I could easily see that, but I would at this point, I would chunk it up as a growing season for them, and a step in the right direction again. Going bowling with a 7-5 record after what happened to them in this offseason would be a win, I think.
What if McCoy comes out and just tears it up though?
Then the ceiling is high. I'd say nine wins is possible.
You could argue, short of the Oregon game, that he's the best quarterback playing. We've never seen Malachi Nelson play.
Yeah.
I mean, Hudson Card maybe at Purdue, but I mean, I feel like they're on a similar level.
Who's Wazoo got at the helm?
Eckhouse, the FCS transfer too. They both have FCS transfers. Cal has a transfer and Chandler Rogers, but I don't know. I feel like you could have
right.
Yeah. It's going to be fast. I'll take the over. I don't feel good about this one though, but I feel good about Oregon State's future. All right. Because I think like Patty C just said, and really moving forward, you might have a better shot at making the playoffs than you did before. And if you can build on that,
I mean, I'm looking at the team history in terms of college football final rankings. This team has never in its history finished in the top 12. Oh, I got to check out the AP. No, that's not true. In 2000, they finished.
Yeah, they should have went
number 4 in 2000. And then going back, they had some good years back in like the 1960s and 50s. But in the last 60, 70 years, they've been just outside of the top 12 most of the time. If they get anywhere close. And so now maybe this bumps them into the top 12, and especially if the playoff expands, then they're in great position. Yeah.
Yeah. Folks, I'm on the over. Patty C's on the under. I think the number's right though. YouTube.com/the college experience as we continue to break down all of this. We're gonna have a great basketball preview for you too. Wasn't that long ago they were in the Elite Eight in basketball. Give Patty C a follow on Twitter at PattyC831. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. The College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. And don't forget to check out the Stadium Heads podcast. Reser Stadium is a great stadium. It's a classic stadium. And I love the fact you don't destroy it. You build into it, right? You just update some things, right? Love that stadium. I think it's one of the more underrated nationally. If you want a deeper dive on that, check out the Stadium Heads podcast. We talk college football history, the stadiums, all that great stuff. What makes college football the greatest thing on planet Earth? Get on over there. Check that out. Also check out the FCS college football experience. Idaho State's not bad. All right. You want to know about those Bengals, Merrill Hodges alma mater. So check out the FCS college football experience. Also, check out the college baseball experience. Oregon State's got a great baseball program. So check out that show there. Check out the Sports Gambling Podcast as well. And it wouldn't be an episode, Patty C, if I didn't say
nice Beaver.
There we go. Let's go Beavs, man. I love this program. They should be. Look, it's awful what's happened to Washington State and Oregon State, but I think it could be a blessing in disguise to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I want to root for both of them. I love both these programs. Let's go. I'm a fan. I got to get up there to Reser Stadium for a game. Let's go. Until next time, folks, this is the college football experience, Oregon State Beaver style. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And the whole team's looking and the whole world's looking with the cameras. Run and shoot.